Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us down here at Bear Hole. This is a huge day. Everyone involved kind of knows the amount of work that's gone into us, the time that's gone into us. I was just talking to Al Cabot, who's the president of the West Springfield Environmental Association, who's been working hard for over a decade, probably. He mentioned back in 2012 when they brought a document before the Community Preservation Committee, which I was on at the time, which really had just started the momentum, started the ball rolling to get us to where we are today. So we thank you for that and your whole committee. And also, as I mentioned, over 10 years, Diane Crowell, who can't be with us today, was also a huge driver of this, and actually was July 23rd, 6 years ago, so almost 6 years to the day. When she passed away. So with her efforts and everyone else that can't be here with us that was involved, I just ask for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. So I'll get to thanking everyone towards the end, but we'll hear from folks first before I make a longer speech. We'll start with Dcr Commissioner Jim Montgomery.
Good morning. It is great to be here in West Springfield enjoying the great outdoors and visiting a beautiful Massachusetts resource. I'd like to start by thanking everyone, the mayor, representative, Bear Hole Environmental Conservation Committee. The success of this project is because of your many years of dedication and hard work, and I hope that you are proud of that. I'd also like to thank Mass Audubon for their continued partnership in this acquisition and many other projects that we work together with on a regular basis. Your commitment to supporting this region throughout the acquisition of this vital forest land for the benefit of the community does not go unnoticed. We're fortunate here in Massachusetts to have a state park system with invaluable natural and recreational resources unique to this state, such as the Bear Hole Forest land. Bear Hole is an idyllic natural and recreational resource available to the people of West Springfield with an oasis-like experience and popular trail system. Bear Hole serves as a special place for newcomers and regular visitors to explore and enjoy time and time again. Thank you. Thanks to the $700,000 investment from EEA and DCR and the $350,000 from Mass Audubon, the local residents and visitors will get to have an opportunity to utilize this wonderful space for many years to come. DCR and the Baker-Polito administration recognize the importance and the value of supporting land acquisitions, which serves as a shining example of the administration's continued commitment to investing in land conservation. Now more than ever, it's clear that the importance of the role of natural and outdoor places have in helping people stay healthy, both physically and mentally. Over the past years, we've witnessed record numbers of visitors in parks throughout the state, from the off-beaten path trails to the well-known destinations. This is one of the many reasons why I'm particularly proud of the partnership between DCR, the town of West Springfield, and Mass Audubon to make this vital acquisition happen. Additionally, we continue to see the impacts of climate change and drought conditions and tropical storms. Conserving key forest land is critical to reducing overdevelopment, protecting priceless habitat, and leaving the world a much better place for the next generation. This public-private partnership to achieve a common goal will serve as a model for many future projects across the state. Together we can make a positive impact on our shared environment, become better stewards, and set a good example for future generations to protect and conserve our natural resources. I look forward to seeing the benefits of this acquisition for many, many years to come. Thank you.
It's password protected, Carl.
Go look.
Technology. But before I call up Bob Wilber from Mass Audubon, I'll just mention that Bob, Jen, and Jennifer were key partners, along with Mark Noonan, who, by the way, told me that once we did this, he was going to quit. But hopefully it doesn't happen. We need him to do some more work for us, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon. But Mark has been, over the years, I think he thinks I hate the environment. Over the years, he's been a big driver internally in Town Hall of making sure that this happens. And a few years ago, he brought Bob and Jen and Jennifer to us, and we started talking about how we would make this whole thing work. And then at a council meeting probably 2 years ago, right before COVID, the council had voted down on their first vote to make this happen. I was extremely frustrated and basically ready to give up. But Jennifer, we talked to my office afterwards, was like, no, we can get them there. We can get them across the line. Jen and Jennifer and Bob were much more optimistic than I was at the time. But thankfully, because of their help, we got them across the line. We got them there with the work of Mark and Kate O'Brien, our attorney. We got everything done, and another vote happened, and it was approved. So with that kind of background, we'll have Mass Audubon Director of Land Conservation, Bob Wilber, say a few words. Thank you. Let me just take this so we don't have that same thing happen again.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a great day. I really enjoy these types of events. Frankly, in the land conservation business, we're sort of famous for going immediately into the next one and not pausing long enough to appreciate what has been accomplished. And so that's why these are really just from a sort of therapy, mental health perspective, really an important thing to do. And so I'm here today to give a lot of thanks. I'm feeling very thankful today. And I want to start with my mom, Isabel, who's here. She's 91. She grew up 5 miles from here in Westfield. And she drove me to Mass Audubon Nature Camp a million years ago and helped instill a love of nature and protecting the environment. The other thing that she did that was so important is she really helped develop a deep appreciation for what's so special about Western Massachusetts. And I feel very fortunate in that regard. And so, Mom, thanks so much for everything. And my dad, who also grew up in Westfield, is no longer with us. But my effort on this project I'll dedicate to you and Dad. And the mayor, that was very nice to have the moment of silence. I was really thinking the same thing with Diane Crowell and Bernie Lally, the historian from West Springfield, who did so much to help us all appreciate the history of this place. With the resort that was here 100+ years ago, the Massasoit Springs here, and I also want to mention Howard Fife Sr., who was another voice calling for the conservation of this property, and his son Howie Jr. is here with us today. So thank you for coming very much. I want to recognize a few others from the Environmental Committee and the really important role that they played. The first is not able to be here. So that's Dietrich Schlobbaum and his wife Julie. They are on their annual summer sojourn to northern Maine, and good for them. I'm sure they're having a great time. But we're thinking of them now and appreciating all they did, the sort of unrelenting advocacy for protecting Bear Hole. And Al Cabot, who's here. Al played a really key role in this project, particularly through the approval process, which was more arduous than we anticipated, and ultimately worked out just fine. But Al, really very much appreciate all of your efforts. And I also want to acknowledge Todd Stiglinski, who's the president of the Environmental Committee. Todd, good to see you. And appreciate the role that you played in this project as well. For Mass Audubon, 2 people, Jeff Collins, who worked for the Ecological Extension Service and did a project for the town of West Springfield to create an environmental community conservation vision for Bear Hole. And that was a key piece in sort of gelling the support and people beginning to see how special this was and that it really should be conserved. I also want to acknowledge Kate Butall from my team, who can't be here today. She had a family commitment. She's a land protection specialist, and she put in a huge amount of work with Jennifer and others. And that is a good segue to DCR and the staff at DCR. Mass Audubon and DCR appreciate very much the Commissioner's comments about the partnership. One is a public agency, where I began my career, by the way, and the other is a private organization, private nonprofit, began here in Massachusetts 125 years ago. We started at about the same time, 1894, right? I think, in 1896, and so we're both land for people, and that's why we partner so well. There's a lot of overlap in our missions, and look forward to more collaboration. So just a couple people real quick. Lou Ross, who's the staff attorney for this project, just did fantastic work, real depth of knowledge in real estate acquisition and conveyancing, and really helped us navigate some complex issues. Land conservation specialist Jen Soper here just did a fantastic job. She oversaw the largest survey project in the history of the world. 13 miles of perimeter boundary, 13 miles. You're not going to see something like that in Massachusetts very often. And then also with the title examination, which was also brutal and extremely complicated. Did an excellent, excellent job, and even seemed to enjoy it. And Jen also kept us guessing on the infinite Zoom calls as to what she was saying. She had a bad computer mic. What is she saying? And then last but definitely not least, Jennifer Howard, Director of Land Acquisition and Protection at DCR. You know, just the quarterback for this project in many, many ways, and really the key person that brought it on through, and appreciate all of that, all of the effort. And then to the town of West Springfield, Kate O'Brien Scott, the town lawyer. She is very modest about the role she played. She played a really important role, let me tell you, really, really important role, both through the approval process, but also through the boundary and title issues that we encountered that had to be resolved before we could complete this. And so thank you very much for your efforts as well. And that brings me to two people who I really think there are two people that this project would not have happened but for their involvement. And those people are Conservation Agent and Natural Resource Planner Mark Noonan. And Mark is a career conservation professional. He was one of the founders of the Winding River Land Conservancy. Mark has done a lot of things in his life, conservation-wise. This one, he was the first person that I talked to about this project more than 12 years ago. And so I'm very happy for you today, Mark.
I have it done, now I can look for a job.
An excellent job. The other person is West Side's mayor, Will Reichelt. You know, I was so impressed the first time I met him. I was expecting to have to convince him as to how important this was to protect. It became very clear in 5 minutes he needed no convincing. He knew this place. You grew up here, so this was the woods of his youth. It's a place where he still rides mountain bike regularly. That's why he's so slim. And he totally got it. And he got, more than anything, what he got was the benefit to the community that preserving this property represented. And I'm very, very impressed with that, and very thankful for that too. So in closing, I'll just say this is a super, super important accomplishment. You know, especially when you think about it through the lens of forever, because that's what conservation is about. It's forever. It's a time horizon. It's very difficult to get your head around. And thinking about it through that lens, you know, this 1,400 acres, this massive property that in so many ways shouldn't be here anymore, but it is. And now it's been protected forever. It will store massive amounts of carbon and floodwaters to help us all survive climate change. It'll help wildlife be more resilient to the impacts of climate change. It will help provide cooling for the southern Connecticut River Valley. It will also continue to provide clean air and clean water, and as the mayor mentioned earlier, huge benefits to the physical health, the mental health, and spiritual health of people forever. And so we're talking about over time millions of people, literally millions of people. And so I just wanted to pause on that and just say thanks once again to everyone who helped make this happen. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. And our last speaker, Representative Finn, we did a lot on our end. DCR, Audubon did a lot as well, but that was just part of the process too. We still had to go through a whole state approval process, and because of the kind of delay in voting with our council and the way the timing was working out, it really wouldn't have happened without Representative Finn shepherding it through that whole state process, which is even more complicated than the local process. So with that, we appreciate you getting it done, Mike. You want to say a few words? Mike and I also run back here too. So.
Good morning, everybody. No applause, please. I'm just here to say good morning and welcome and greetings from the Great and General Court. A lot of people understand that we in the legislature do a lot of things, right? We usually draw people's attention when we raise taxes or if we take votes that people don't like. But one of the ancillary benefits of the actions that we take in the legislature is we make sure great state agencies like DCR have the funds that they need to be able to make projects like this happen today. And so for that, I'm very grateful that that's one of the benefits that I get for being the state representative of this area. On a personal note, I've been involved professionally with the carbon sequestration program that we did a few years back under former Mayor Sullivan. We've had a great partnership with Mayor Reichelt in getting this done, this particular project. And like the mayor just said, Will and I and a couple other friends from the town here, we have been utilizing this open space for years. When we come back here and we go bike riding or we go running, I've seen, small groups of deer startle me to death when we're in the middle of a trail. I've seen porcupines, we've seen bears, we've seen coyotes. We've saw just the other day, and I'm very proud of this, I saw my first rattlesnake. It wasn't very big, but it's what exists here in the town of West Springfield, and the preservation of that is just, that's something that hits me. And to know that, I don't have any grandkids yet, but my grandkids and my great-grandkids are going to be able to come out here and enjoy West Springfield in the exact same way that I've had the ability to enjoy it, the way the mayor has. And, it's really rewarding to know that we've done something good, not just for our generation and for the folks that are here, but for future generations. And so I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that did the real work. We just purse strings, that's what the legislature does. But I'm very happy to have been a small part of this project, so thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And I'll just end on kind of 3 reasons why this is so important. One being this is 1,500 acres in a much larger range of wilderness, but it's lucky, West Side likes to call itself the crossroads of New England. We're very close to 90, 91, the Springfield metro area. If you grew up in West Springfield, everything is close by, and it still feels like you're in a city in a lot of senses, but within 5 minutes probably from any house in town, you can be at one entry point to Bear Hole. You can walk down one of these trails, which I encourage you to do afterwards, and truly feel like you're in the wilderness. So it's a huge asset that we have that, on point 2 being, was only partially protected in a lot of senses. People assume that because it used to be our drinking water supply many years ago, that this was safe from development. And really that was partially true. There were areas that were certainly had more strict layers of protection than other areas, but we started buying land for different purposes over the years, and the entire 1,500 acre parcel wasn't permanently protected. So now, in the final point of why this CR is so important, is it truly is. And as Mike mentioned, when he has grandkids and their kids' kids, they'll always be able to grow up and come here and utilize the trails and be able to experience the waterfall, which is only about a half a mile down that path, and to see the real true beauty that we have here in West Springfield, and that we'll know will always be protected and won't be able to be the victim of encroachment of whatever development could potentially happen. So with that, there are a lot of people around here that have experience in Bear Hole. I encourage you to go take a walk through. Like we said, just a half mile down is a great waterfall. Around that is the old reservoir and the dam. There's tons of trails that cut off here and there. Be careful not to get lost, but there's a lot of signs thanks to Carly and the work she's done that will direct you right back to the parking lot. With that, I thank you all very much for coming out. I thank you all for the help you've done to get us here. Mark and Al for the pushed, constantly reminding me that how important this is over the past 10 years. I wouldn't be here without all of you, and I appreciate it. Thank you, and go enjoy Bear Hole.